two pirates were very curious to know what had brought their captain to them. But he sat with his head on his hook in a position of profound melancholy. "Captain, is all well?" they asked timidly. But he answered with a hollow moan. "He sighs," said Smee. "He sighs again," said Starkey. "And yet a third time he sighs," said Smee. Then at last he spoke passionately. "The game's up," he cried. "Those boys have found a mother." Affrighted though she was, Windy swelled with pride. "Oh, evil day," cried Starkey. "What's a mother?" asked the ignorant Smee. Windy was so shocked that she exclaimed, "He doesn't know." And always after this, she felt that if you could have a pet pirate, Smee would be her one. Peter pulled her beneath the water, for Hook had started up crying. "What was that?" "I heard nothing," said Starkey, raising the lantern over the waters. And as the pirates looked, they saw a strange sight. It was the nest I have told you of floating on the lagoon, and the Neverbird was sitting on it. "See," said Hook in answer to Smee's question. "That is a mother. What a lesson. The nest must have fallen into the water, but would the mother desert her eggs? No." There was a break in his voice, as if for a moment he recalled innocent days when... But he brushed away this weakness with his hook. Smee, much impressed, gazed at the bird as the nest was borne past. But the more suspicious Starkey said, "If she is a mother, perhaps she is hanging about here to help Peter." Hook winced. "Aye," he said, "that is the fear that haunts me." He was roused from this dejection by Smee's eager voice. "Captain," said Smee, "could we not kidnap these boys' mother and make her our mother?" "It is a princely scheme," cried Hook, and at once it took practical shape in his great brain. "We will seize the children and carry them to the boat. The boys we will make walk the plank. And Windy shall be our mother." Again Windy forgot herself. "Never," she cried and bobbed. What was that? But they could see nothing. They thought it must have been a leaf in the wind. "Do you agree, my bullies?" asked Hook. "There is my hand on it," they both said. "And there is my hook. Swear." They all swore. By this time they were on the rock, and suddenly Hook remembered Tiger Lily. "Where is the redskin?" he demanded abruptly. He had a playful humor at moments, and they thought this was one of the moments. "That is all right, Captain," Smee answered complacently. "We let her go." "Let her go," cried Hook. "'Twas your own orders," the boatswain faltered. "You called over the water to us to let her go," said Starkey. "Brimstone and gall," thundered Hook. "What is going on here?" His face had gone black with rage, and he saw that they believed their words, and he was startled. "Lads," he said, shaking a little, "I gave no such order." "It is passing queer," Smee said, and they all fidgeted uncomfortably. Hook raised his voice, but there was a quiver in it. "Spirit that haunts this dark lagoon tonight," he cried, "dost hear me?" Of course Peter should have kept quiet, but of course he did not. He immediately answered in Hook's voice, "Odds, bobs, hammer and tongs, I hear you." In that supreme moment Hook did not blanch, even at the gills, but Smee and Starkey clung to each other in terror. "Who are you, stranger? Speak," Hook demanded. "I am James Hook," replied the voice, "captain of the Jolly Roger." "You are not. You are not," Hook cried hoarsely. "Brimstone and gall," the voice retorted. "Say that again and I'll cast anchor in you." Hook tried again. "If you are Hook," he said almost humbly, Come tell me. Who am I? A codfish, replied the voice, only a codfish. A codfish, Hook echoed blankly. And it was then, but not till then, that his proud spirit broke. He saw his men draw back from him. Have we been captained all this time by a codfish, they muttered. It is lowering to our pride. They were his dogs snapping at him, but tragic figure though he had become, he scarcely heeded them. Against such fearful evidence, it was not their belief in him that he needed, it was his own. He felt his ego slipping from him. Don't desert me, bully, he whispered hoarsely to it. In his dark nature there was a touch of the feminine, as in all the great pirates, and it sometimes gave him intuitions. Suddenly, he tried the guessing game. Hook, he called. Have you another voice? Now Peter could never resist a game, and he answered in his own voice. I have. And another name? Aye. Vegetable? Asked Hook. No. Mineral? No. Animal? Yes. Man? No. This answer rang out scornfully. Boy? Yes. Ordinary boy? No. Wonderful boy. To Wendy's pain, the answer that rang out this time was yes. Are you in England? No. Are you here? Yes. Hook was completely puzzled. You ask him some questions, he said to the others, wiping his damp brow. Smee reflected. I can't think of a thing, he said regretfully. Can't guess, crowed Peter. Do you give up? Of course, in his pride, he was carrying the game too far, and the miscreants saw their chance. Yes, they answered eagerly. Well then, he cried, I am Peter Pan. Pan. In a moment Hook was himself again, and Smee and Starkey were his faithful henchmen. Now we have him, Hook shouted into the water. Smee. Starkey, mind the boat. Take him dead or alive. He leaped as he spoke, and simultaneously came the gay voice of Peter. Are you ready, boys? Aye, from various parts of the lagoon. Then lam into the pirates. The fight was short and sharp. First, to draw blood was John, who climbed into the boat and held Starkey. There was a fierce struggle in which the cutlass was torn from the pirate's grasp. He wriggled overboard, and John leapt after him. The boat drifted away. Here and there a head bobbed up in the water, and there was a flash of steel followed by a cry. In the confusion, some struck at their own side. The corkscrew of Smee got Toodles in the fourth rib, but he was himself pinked and turned by Curly. Farther from the rock, Starkey was pressing slightly, and the twins hard. Where all this time was Peter? He was seeking bigger game. The others were all brave boys, and they must not be blamed for backing from the pirate captain. His iron claw made a circle of dead water round him, from which they fled like affrighted fishes. But there was one who did not fear him, and there was one prepared to enter that circle. Strangely, it was not in the water that they met. Hook rose to the rock to breathe, and at that same moment Peter scaled it, on the opposite side. The rock was slippery as a ball, and they had to crawl rather than climb. Neither knew that the other was coming. Each feeling for a grip met the other's arm. In surprise, they raised their heads. Their faces were almost touching. So they met. Some of the greatest heroes have confessed that just before they fell to, they had a sinking. Had it been so with Peter at that moment, I would admit it. After all, he was the only man that the sea cook had feared. But Peter had no sinking. He only had one feeling only, gladness. And he gnashed his pretty teeth with joy. Quick as thought, he snatched a knife from Hook's belt and was about to drive it home when he saw that he was higher up the rock than his foe. It would not have been fighting fair. He gave the pirate a hand to help him up. It was then the Hook bit him. Not the pain of this, but its unfairness was what dazed Peter. It made him quite helpless. He could only stare, horrified. Every child is affected thus the first time he is treated unfairly. All he thinks he has a right to when he comes to you, to be yours, is fairness. After you have been unfair to him, he will love you again, but will never afterwards be quite the same boy. No one ever gets over the first unfairness, no one, except Peter. He often met it, but he always forgot it. I suppose that was the real difference between him and all the rest. So when he met it now, it was like the first time, and he could just stare, helpless. Twice the iron hand clawed him. In a few moments afterwards, the other boys saw Hook in the water, striking wildly for the ship. No elation on the pestilent face, now only white fear, for the crocodile was in dogged pursuit of him. On ordinary occasions, the boys would have swum alongside cheering, but now they were uneasy, for they had lost both Peter and Wendy, and were scouring the lagoon for them, calling them by name. They found the boat, and went home in it, shouting, "Peter, Wendy," as they went. But no answer came, save mocking laughter from the mermaids. They must be swimming back or flying, the boys concluded. They were not very anxious, because they had such faith in Peter. They chuckled, boy-like, because they would be late for bed, and it was all Mother Wendy's fault. When their voices died away, there came cold silence over the lagoon, and then a feeble cry. "Help! Help!" Two small figures were beating against the rock. The girl had fainted and lay on the boy's arm. With a last effort, Peter pulled her up the rock and then lay down beside her. Even as he also fainted, he saw that the water was rising. He knew that they would soon be drowned, but he could do no more. As they lay side by side, a mermaid caught Wendy by the feet and began pulling her softly into the water. Peter, feeling her slip from him, woke with a start, and was just in time to draw her back, but he had to tell her the truth. "We are on the rock, Wendy," he said, "but it is growing smaller. Soon the water will be over it." She did not understand even now. "We must go," she said almost brightly. "Yes," he answered faintly. "Shall we swim or fly, Peter?" He had to tell her. "Do you think you could swim or fly as far as the island, Wendy, without my help?" She had to admit that she was too tired. He moaned. "What is it?" she asked, anxious about him at once. "I can't help you, Wendy. Hook wounded me. I can neither fly nor swim." "Do you mean we shall both be drowned? Look how the water is rising." They put their hands over their eyes to shut out the sight. They thought there would soon be no more. As they sat thus, something brushed against Peter as light as a kiss, and stayed there, as if saying timidly, "Can I be of any use?" It was the tail of a kite which Michael had made some days before. It had torn itself out of his hand and floated away. "Michael's kite," Peter said without interest. But the next moment he had seized the tail and was pulling the kite toward him. "It lifted Michael off the ground," he cried. "Why should it not carry you, both of us?" "It can't lift two," Michael and Curly tried. "Let us draw lots," Wendy said bravely. "And you a lady, never." Already he had tied the tail round her. She clung to him. She refused to go without him. But with a goodbye, Wendy, he pushed her from the rock, and in a few moments she was borne out of his sight. Peter was alone on the lagoon. The rock was very small now. Soon it would be submerged. Pale rays of light tiptoed across the waters, and by there was to be heard a sound at once the most musical and the most melancholy in the world, the mermaids calling to the moon. Peter was not quite like the other boys, but he was afraid at last. A tremor ran through him like a shudder passing over the sea. But on the sea one shudder follows another, till there are hundreds of them, and Peter felt just the one. Next moment he was standing erect on the rock again with that smile on his face, and a drum beating within him. It was saying, to die will be an awfully big adventure.